Hey, how's
Hey,
it
how are
going?
you? Nice to see
So
you
it's
again.
Keith, right?
Yes.
So it's such a pleasure here. I feel like I'm sitting next to a real big shot.
Yeah, I'm not that either.
You sure?
Yeah, I just go to work. It's just a job. It's just a job, and I've pretty much done it almost my whole life, and so it doesn't feel it's just like going to work. You know, it's I don't know. You know, there's a lot of pressure because of the money. More than anything, you know, you're spending so much money so fast that if you mess up, you get in big trouble. You know, if you waste $1 million, you get in trouble. And
So I know you probably mentioned to everybody. So the exact title of what you
my exact title is production designer.
production designer.
Right.
Ooh.
So I help. We kind of the way I'm usually one of the first people hired. And because we have to build everything, right? So we need a couple of months before they actually start shooting to get everything ready for them to have something to film.
Okay.
And so I'll get the script early. I'll read as many scripts as I can get because it's always good to know if, like in episode 3, something catches on fire or something blows up or a car runs into something.
So I'm trying to get a good visual picture. So I just recently, about 6 months ago, got to tour the Paramount in LA and the studios. And each one of those studios, it's amazing. They build the whole thing, they get it ready, whether it's for a show or for a movie or whatever the case may be. And they put a lot of time and effort and money into it. So you're probably one of the key people that get this big production, whatever it is, a small, little or whatever the case may be. You've probably been in many of those before.
Yes. Yeah, we now that I'm doing television, it's much faster. You have to do it really fast. You have to in minutes you have to come up with an idea. In movies, they're like, why don't you think about that for a while? And because you have more time. And but on television, it's all about cranking it out, which is weird because I just did a show for Netflix, and for Netflix they release all the episodes on one day. So on network, you know, like on CBS, like on Hawaii Five-0, one would come out every Friday. But with Netflix, everything comes out at once, but it also comes out in 60 countries at the same time. Wow. So they have to do the voices in the different languages for everyone, and it all comes out on the same day, all around the world. So I did a show. We stopped filming in June, the end of June. We stopped, and they told me it will not come out until April. And I forgot, you know, it's been so long. Normally the show's already coming on while you're still working on it. And so you can be like, oh, the audience like that, or the audience like this. But with Netflix, it's just all at one time.
Have you ever come to a position where you had a show and everything was set a certain way? You mentioned the 60 countries. Right. Certain things that us here in the United States would think is funny or it would be insulting to another country.
Yeah, I see, and I don't have anything to do with any of that. We just make it for our audience, for the American audience. And but they have a lot of shows. I guess one of the things that's happening right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been out of work for like 5 months because there are no jobs in our business. None.
And they had the whole thing with the AI and the content writers.
AI, basically, our business has not recovered since the writer's strike.
Yep.
And I was really lucky because the show that I was doing, they gave me 5 of the scripts the night before the writers went on strike. So I had my scripts and I could start work. And then when the actors went on strike, it didn't matter because we were just building sets. And so we didn't need any of the actors yet either. And so normally I would get 12 weeks to get a show ready. And this time I had 6 months. So it was almost like a vacation. I didn't have to work any weekends. We didn't have to do any overtime because overtime kills you on your budget. And when you have 300 carpenters working at time and a half, it adds up really quick. So you try to keep it on 10-hour day, 12-hour day. And so we did 10-hour days the whole time, no weekends. So we saved them a ton of money. And we had all the sets ready to go. They were all dressed and ready to go. And then we started shooting when as soon as the actors' strike was over with. And
How many sets did you have?
We had 3 stages. We had the main character's house, and then we had a dance hall that's supposed to be in Texas, and then we had the other 2 characters' houses, the inside of their houses. So on location, people would walk up to the front door and pretend to go in, and then we would cut, and then we would be on stage, and we would change the whole inside of the house on the inside, so that it worked for us. And one of the things that happened on this show was there were scenes written for bathrooms. Someone goes and they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they're washing their hands and they're crying. And so when I presented the first floor plans, my boss, the showrunner, was like, "What's this?" And I was like, "It's the bathroom." And she's like, "We don't need a bathroom. We don't want to see anyone in a bathroom." And I was like, "Well, there's a scene where the girl goes into the bathroom." She's like, "That's gone. I'm just taking it out. We don't need a bathroom. Get rid of that space and make this room bigger." And so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of things being worked out as you're doing it. And when I started to read the book in the very beginning, I called my boss and I was like, "The book is nothing like the script." And she's like, "Don't read the book. You'll get completely confused." She said all I took were the names of the characters.
That's terrible.
And she said that she changed the whole thing. It's a really sad show. It's about a guy whose wife has died from being ill. And in the first episode, his son dies in a car wreck.
Is that out yet? Because
No, it doesn't come out until
I think I heard a
April.
preview or something.
Yeah, no, you
it's
could
on
have.
it's on
Yeah,
Netflix,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I have. I've definitely heard
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good show. I thought it was good. It was great for me to do a show where I wasn't blowing things up and shooting people, and we have no guns in it at all. Ever since the whole thing happened with Alec Baldwin,
Yeah, that was
there's like a
great. Yeah.
whole. You used to never even think about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, they're using guns. It doesn't have anything to do with me," and so you never really thought about it. Now, when there's guns on the set, it's a big deal. And so she had written a script that had there's no violence really. A couple of punches thrown, and there's a car wreck, but
No more fun in the movies.
yeah, no more blowing things
They've
up.
eliminated everything that we want to watch.
So for one of those episodes that you said is in this show, an episode is about an hour, right?
Yeah,
Or it's
about an
about
hour.
50 minutes or
Yeah,
an hour?
about an hour. They don't have the commercial things.
Because it's on Netflix.
Because it's
so,
on Netflix,
yeah.
it can be whatever it wants to be.
So on average, a 1 hour episode, obviously it doesn't take an hour to film, there's a lot.
right.
How long would it take?
It took us 12 days to shoot an episode.
Wow.
On network like CBS, like a show for Hawaii, like Hawaii 5-0, we started in the beginning with 8 days to do one.
Wow.
But and it's a lot for a network show. It's only 42 minutes of actual show, and the other 18 minutes are commercials.
Right.
So with Netflix, you got a whole hour to fill up, and so when you do the network show, you do it in 8 days. So we started in 8 days. Season 3, they were like, "We think you guys can do it in 7," because they want to make it cheaper, right? Because all the actors are getting paid more every year that it's on. So we get squeezed, the actors get more money, and by the end we were down to 6.5 and 7 days to do one episode. And it makes it really hard. I had to work every weekend. You have to work every weekend, and to get it all done in time. And it was hard building stuff there because of the materials. You know, in the last show I did was supposed to be in Texas, but we shot in New Mexico because everything in our business revolves around the film incentives. So New Mexico was given a 25% tax break. So for every dollar you spend, you get 25 cents back.
Wow.
I myself spent over $2 million.
Wow.
So and then I don't even know what all of the actors and it's a whole rigged system, right? So if you want to get something, it has to be a New Mexico product or person that you hired, right? So they want you to hire all locals, which is a good thing in New Mexico because there's a lot of people there. And then if you need something that's from somewhere else, they have set up shell companies there that buy that product for you, and then you buy it from them, and it looks like you're getting it in New Mexico.
Wow.
And so you still get the tax breaks. Right?
So are you around there while they're actually shooting?
I go in the morning and I make sure everything's okay, and then I leave and we start working on the ones that are coming up next. And then
So you get
hopefully there's
everything
no
ready.
problem, right, during the day, right? I
Yeah.
can make sure everything's ready and everybody's happy, and that's usually, if I get to sleep late during the week, 5:30 is late. And then, but normally, one of the things that happened on the last show that we did is we had 3 ranches. There were like 3 big ranches. We were based at the Netflix studio in Albuquerque. The closest ranch that we had was 43 miles away.
Oh, wow.
That was the closest one. The furthest ranch that we had was 156 miles
Oh my God.
from the studio.
That's a 3 hour.
So I would do that every day
And they didn't give you a helicopter or
For-
a jet, did they?
for 2 weeks at a time. I would
Wow.
drive 150 miles in the morning and 150 miles back at home,
Wow.
which wasn't bad in the summertime, but in the wintertime, when it would get dark at like 4:30, it was hard driving in the and snow, rain, sandstorms. We had every weather thing you could. The wind blows so hard in New Mexico in the springtime that you can barely walk outside. And you get pummeled by sand, and so we would try to go inside and shoot when the weather was bad, but sometimes you just can't do it. You know, you have to
Wow.
go outside.
Now I've seen, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen, days where it looks like it's raining, but you see in the distance it looks like the sun is out, and
Right.
you know that there's
The drop in rain.
The drop in rain.
And then they're like, oh, no one will notice that.
I noticed that.
Right.
It's-
Or the one thing that they do all the time is they will tell you that, oh, we're going to fix that in post with CG, right? We're going to have the guys in post make that go away, and you don't have to worry about it. And then later when you watch the show, you're like, you said you were going to
And they
fix
didn't do
that.
it.
One of the things on Hawaii Five-0 we did an episode where Scott Kahn, Dano, it was like a flashback from when he lived in New Jersey, and he was going to the police station. So we had our building that we shot at all the time where our offices were. And they were like, can you make this look like a police station in New Jersey? And I was like, yeah, no problem. So we put fake brick around the doorway.
And then you see
all
a
around
palm
the
tree in the
doorway,
background.
all around the doorway. And they told me, they were like, yeah, well, once we get, if we ever see anything on the sides, the people will fix it later and they'll just make it all look like brick. You just need to do around the door. And that's it. So we added fake brick, we painted it to look like real brick and everything. And then when you watch the show, you can see that it's fake brick. And then the rest of the building's like a tropical green color. And you see it for just a split second and no one probably noticed. But I was really upset. And they were like, it costs too much. And I was like, well, I could have added a little more fake brick and no one would have ever known.
Wow.
And they're like, no one cares about that. And that's what happens with a lot of my stuff is the producers eventually will say, they're just watching the actors. Nobody cares about that. And luckily on the last show I did, the showrunner had an eye, and we treated every detail as precious, which was okay, but it was kind of nerve-wracking. And I know some people, they don't care like what the doorknobs are and what the hinges are and what the cabinet hardware is. And when I had my first meeting with the showrunner on that, I was like, do you care about hardware? And she's like, are you kidding? I love hardware. Which was great until we started spending like $1,800 for a door handle. And everything had to be antique. Everything had to be, which is hard for the carpenters
Just
because
paint
it
it.
doesn't quite work right.
Paint
so
it
we
to
had
look that
fix
way.
it. We mortised all the hardware into the doors, and because the house was supposed to have been there for so long. It's all that kind of stuff. It's basically reading the script.
What's the largest carpenter staff you ever had?
About 300.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, like 300 carpenters and 75 painters, and then you have plasterers too, because we do a lot of things with fake materials. Fake cinder block, fake brick, because all of our walls are 1x3 on edge, and then a piece of 1/4-inch luan. That's what we start with.
Cheap material.
Yeah, well, it used to be cheap.
Yeah.
Luan is not that cheap anymore. Ever since all of these hurricanes and storms and everything. And the other thing that happens is if there's like a hurricane coming to you guys, for it, no matter where you're at in the country, the price of plywood goes up all over the United States because they're shipping it all to Florida. And
that
so
goes in your budget.
plywood will like double in like
Wow.
a day when there's a storm coming. And
What about doubles? Do you ever see any doubles of, for when they're shooting, or you're not around when they're actually shooting the actors?
yeah, I'm there some of the time, like if they're on stage, but normally I'm getting the next shows ready.
Okay.
And, I'll go down there because a lot of times I'll have to go ask someone who's down there a question, the director or the producers, because they pretty much, they're there all the time. And I'll go down there and go, hey, it says blah, 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 but our door doesn't work like that. And she's like, don't worry about it, I'll change it. And then you have other people that are like, well, you better re-swing that door because in the script it says, so I have to get the guys down there. And so basically the night before, you make sure that you're ready for the next day and that everything's ready. And
So you get the script and you try to create the floor plan, the setup
yes,
that's
I
needed to
usually
follow
will
the
draw
script.
I will draw the first floor plan myself, usually, if I have time. And I still draw by hand. No, when I started, everyone drew by hand. And I still do. I never learned how to do it on the computer. And so I still draw everything by hand, but then I give it to people who can put it into the computer. It's great for me because I can change it really quick. And once you can get it into the computer, you can be like, hey, make that bedroom 2 feet
It
bigger.
can be changed
And
instantly.
you can just go, and it's done. And it used to be like, okay, it's like a guy going, okay, it's gonna take me like 4 hours. And now they just go, and it just gets bigger. And so that's a good thing. The other thing that has helped me a lot is the illustrations. So I will do illustrations of the sets so that everybody knows exactly what they're getting. And they can say, yeah, that's what I want to do before we start spending money.
Are you as a good dancer as well as
I can't dance at all. I can't do anything social. No, I am not as good a dancer as my mom.
She's smiling. She definitely is. She's like, I got you on
I
that.
can see the resemblance when they smile too.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely.
How difficult is it to get all the craftsmen you need, generally speaking?
Depends on where you're at. I did a couple of shows in Atlanta before the writer's strike. It was super busy there. When I was there were like 52 shows. And so it was hard to get people there. So they were bringing people from Los Angeles and Texas. And so it was hard to crew up there. And then the other thing that happens when there's like a boom town, because it'll happen for 4 or 5 years all over the country. It'll be Seattle for a while, it'll be Albuquerque for a while, it'll be Atlanta for a while. It kind of, depending on the tax breaks, everything moves. And so it depends on where you're at, but yeah, sometimes it's key. If you fall behind, you're doomed. If you fall behind on something, you just stay ahead, read the script as soon as they give it to you and go, oh, there's a jail. I better start working on a jail set. And stuff like that. It's just staying ahead. And, you work like 12 hours a day, at least 12 hours a day. And sometimes more. But at least 12 is what you...
How many meals do you get in a day?
3. I eat
Yeah.
breakfast. Yeah, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
The normal things. They give you lunch and breakfast and when you're at work. And they feed everybody there. And it used to be great when I first started, but it's the same thing that I've been eating for the last 30-something years. Just different Mexican guys cooking it. And it's all out of a truck. Right?
That's some good food.
It's the same thing, beef, chicken, fish, every day. And just cooked a little bit.
Do you think, so during the pandemic, they stopped doing a lot of shootings too?
We stopped. I went home for 7 months during the pandemic. There was nothing. during the pandemic. And then the first show that I got back was in Canada. And
For a while, there weren't any good movies
there
on
weren't
TV.
any good
yeah.
shows.
Cold Canada or
Right.
warm
I was in
Canada?
Vancouver, so it was still cold. It was still snow, and it rained like crazy. But they were Canada was much more serious about the COVID protocols than in the United States. So you would have to you had to be in a zone, right? So if you were in zone 3, you could not be on stage. And you had to be in zone 1 to be around the actors. And they weren't afraid of us giving it to the actors. They were afraid of the actors giving it to us because we all had masks on. The actors have to take their mask off. And because they're all actors, they couldn't just stay home like everybody else, right? They were like, oh, I guess I shouldn't have gone to dinner and gotten COVID. And it's like, yeah, you should have gone home like all of us. And so when an actor gets COVID or sick or injured, it becomes a huge deal because your whole schedule starts to change. Maybe they're not available for a certain day. The other thing that will happen is they'll hire like a famous actor to be a guest star, but he's only available for one day. And it's the worst possible day that to get things ready for this one guy or lady to be on the show. And they'll be like, you got to have it ready for Wednesday. And they're like, yeah, but it's Monday. And they're like, we don't care, just get it ready. And there's a lot of that. Just, we don't care, just get it ready. And tell us what it costs later. And I don't have to worry, I have to worry about the money, but I don't have to do the budget. The construction coordinator actually does the budget, but he can't do a budget until I give him drawings.
It will get to the point where AI will actually be the actors, and then the actors don't even have any jobs because that's the biggest money, right?
I don't know.
The salaries of the
salaries
actors.
of the actors. Yeah, I don't know. I think
It's
people
crazy.
like that connection to, especially certain actors.
Yeah,
You know,
they-
there
they
are
have
certain people that
They're the
people
draw.
love.
Yeah.
You know,
They're the draw.
right? Yeah, Mark Harmon. You know,
Yeah.
or what's that show? Blue Bloods. What's the guy that's on?
Tom
Yeah,
Selleck.
Tom Selleck. People love him. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what he does. It doesn't matter. You know,
He's
and
really
back
good.
in the old days, it was Henry Ford. You know, and or Henry Fonda, and you know, there were James Stewart, and there were all of those kind of actors. There aren't many actors like that anymore. I on the last show I did, there was James Brolin was in it, and he was great. He was great, but he upset one of the producers, the main producer, and he got killed before the in the last episode. And she was like, "No, we're not going to have that." And he was always trying to tell her what he thought the character should do. And she's like, "I know what the character should do because I wrote it," and it's not that. And but I was pretty impressed with him because he was 84 years old. He was still driving himself to the set every day. And somehow, which I can't do, he was able to memorize all those lines. And I don't know how he did that.
Wow.
And because I could never do that. That's why I couldn't be an actor, because I could never memorize the lines.
Have
I
you
just
seen
can't do that.
actors messing up and forgetting lines? And
Yes. Yeah, there are some actors who never can get it right. And so they have to edit it around them.
Oh, really?
Right. And then there are other actors who show up and know every line, know everybody else's line. There are some people who can read it one
They're
time.
wired that way.
Yeah.
there's
Scott
certain-
Kahn. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know if he got that from his dad, but he knew all the lines. The guy who played McGarrett cannot remember the lines. And
Do
but
you
there
ever
are
have cue cards?
some people do the cue card
Yeah.
things. You know, we on Hawaii Five-O, like Ed Asner would come and be a guest star. And he'd be like, I'm not learning those lines. I'm not doing that. I already
gotta
had to
read
fly
them,
to-
right?
Right, so they would just have them right.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
You know, it's hard though. It's hard. You know, Marlon Brando would do that all the time. He would have an earpiece in, and someone would read him.
Oh, my
Because he
God.
did one. Johnny Depp does that. He has a little earpiece in, and people are telling him what the next line is.
goodness.
And
they probably come with a whole entourage
Right.
of people.
That changes
Right,
the
and
whole- that
and
changes
instead of
everything.
saying I'm just lazy and don't want to learn the lines, they're like, it's better for me as an actor if I'm like hearing it right then. And to me, I don't know. There's about like there's 300 people standing there waiting on you, and because there's all the grips and the gaffers and the hair people and the makeup people and the sound people, and the camera crew are all there waiting on you.
Well, I'm
When
definitely
they're
gonna
late,
look for that
when
new
the actors are late.
Netflix show. Looking forward to that. That's coming.
Ransom Canyon.
Yeah,
right?
Ransom
Maybe
Canyon.
watch it here.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah,
do it.
they told me they think it's going to come on in April. So,
In April?
which is why you see those shows, and then the next season, the little kid looks like he's aged like 6 years because it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
And he was older than you thought when you watched it the first time anyway. Right? He was a couple of years older than he was supposed to be, and then you have a year and a half or 2 years.
I
off
think
between
that's why they
shows.
shot Avatar 1, 2, and they did them all back to back to back, so the
Right.
whole aging of the
Right.
kids wouldn't.
Right.
It's Hollywood secrets.
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to do this from a little boy when you were younger?
I kind of knew I wanted to do
Yeah?
something like that,
Oh.
but I didn't really know until I graduated from high school, and I went to Palm Beach Junior College down in West Palm Beach, and one of the teachers there was like, you could probably make a living at this,
Oh my
and
goodness.
you should go to another college. And so luckily my mom and dad helped me, and I went to North Carolina School of the Arts. I got into North Carolina School of the Arts.
Where was
And,
that?
that was in Winston-Salem.
Huh? In Salem?
And I did 4 years of theater school, and because I was going to design theater, and I figured I would go live in New York and work on Broadway shows. And so my senior year, they were like, "We want you to leave the middle semester and go to New York and work for the semester and make sure that you can do it, and that'll be your credit for
Heck of
your
an
senior
offer.
year." So I went to New York. I worked for a big designer in New York. I got paid $50 a day in cash at the end of the day. And the next morning, all my money would be gone because I was in New York. And I would have to draw all day long to get another $50. And
Wow.
and I had a portfolio. And when you do theater, at least when you used to do theater, your portfolio, you would usually do things in half-inch scale or quarter-inch scale. So some of your renderings and drawings would be huge. My portfolio was huge. And one day I remember being in the rain in New York in like November. It's pouring down rain. I'm dragging this thing around on the subway. I was like, I cannot do this. And so I got offered a scholarship at USC, and I took it. And
Much better climate.
right, much better climate. But I got to Los Angeles in June, and school didn't start until September. And when I got there, all of the teachers at the college were like, why don't you meet us at this theater tonight? Like the second day I'd been in town. Meet us at the theater tonight. We'll introduce you to all of these people. And so I went down there and I met this guy, and he was like, "When did you get to town?" I was like, "Yesterday." And he's like, "You want a job?" And I was like, "Yeah." and he asked me to come and build models for him, and for Disney, for a Disney show. And so I did that, and they paid me $850 a week. And I was like, well, I'm not going back to school. and if I can make $850 a week, doing this, so I called the people at USC and told them that I wasn't going to come, and I never went to graduate school, and I just started working right then. And I think I learned a lot more working than I did in graduate school.
Well, art is in your blood,
Yeah.
because if you look at Lee's entryway, she always has
Right.
every holiday, and it's almost like a set.
It is.
Yeah, it scared me a few times walking down the hall, and the thing is yelling with the little monster there for Halloween. So it's really nice, but it's definitely a pleasure. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get
nice
going,
to meet
but yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem. Yeah, thank you,
Anytime.
guys.
These stories are wonderful.
Yeah.
They definitely are. I know we even had Evelyn. She even worked in some of the
Right.
movies,
Yeah.
and you guys might have crossed paths.